Chaney, and today I will be interviewing my grandfather, Samir Husni. Today is January 6th, 2019. When and where were you born?
I was born in Tripoli, Lebanon, in the Middle East.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tripoli, in Lebanon, until I finished my high school. Then after I finished my high school, I went to Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, so I can go to the university. There I attended the university and started working as a journalist.
What was your childhood like?
My childhood was like any other kid. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was a Presbyterian and my grandfather was a Presbyterian, so I was a Presbyterian. And so we went to Sunday school. We went to a private school called the American Boys School, which later became the Tripoli Evangelical School. And I was just like growing up like any other child, going to school, having fun, playing in the streets, kicking ball in the streets, and there were not too many cars so we could play in the streets. And then one day a new magazine came to Lebanon called Superman, and I bought the first issue when I was like maybe 10 years old, and I fell in love with magazines and ink on paper and storytelling, and I thought from that day that's what I want to be.
What were your parents like?
My mom was a homemaker, i.e. she stayed at home, took care of us, took care of the kids, cooked, helped prepare everything for us, our clothes. Dad was a foreman in a refinery. He used to work like a foreman, which means he will go to work 2 days in the morning, 2 days in the afternoon, 2 days at night, and 2 days off. And his job was technically to go and climb on the big gas tanks that they store the gasoline in and measure them when the big boats are emptying the gasoline in the tanks. Before the days there were no computers, so they had to measure them manually to make sure that the tanks are full.
What is your best memory?
My best memory was sitting in bed with Dad, and my dad telling us all these stories from the Bible about Joseph and his multicolored clothes, or my grandfather telling us all kinds of silly riddles that we will think it's so hard to figure out. Like he will ask us like Solomon, the son of David, who was his dad, and we will like be puzzled. We don't know who Solomon is. How can we tell his dad? Although he told us that in the answer.
Did you enjoy school?
School was fun because it was our only entertainment. I mean, there was really nothing for us growing up to do except going to school, and all our friends were at school. We would wait for recess to go and play with our friends and enjoy our time there. There were no sleepover. We didn't have like friends coming to stay over the night with you, or that did not happen when I was a child.
Who was your best friend?
I had plenty of friends, but mainly they were all from either my Sunday school or from the youth group. So we were always a group of like 6 or 7 people that went to Sunday school together, went to youth group together, went caroling during Christmas together, and we were like really nobody like specifically a best friend, but the whole group were like buddies and friends.
Where did you go to college?
As I mentioned earlier, I went to college at the Lebanese University, which is the State University of Lebanon. I majored in journalism, and I finished my 4 years education. I get my licence, which is equivalent to a bachelor's degree, the BA. I was the top student in my class, and I received a scholarship to come to the United States and work on my master's and PhD.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I always wanted to be a journalist or a magazine person. I mean, from the day I bought that Superman when I was like 10 years old, as I was like flipping through the pages and crossing the street after I bought it from the grocery store, something happened to me. I mean, I fell so much in love with the art of storytelling, with the stories that have a hero and a villain, with the pacing of the story. I can read it on my own. I don't need my dad or my grandfather to tell me a story. I can read the story, and something happened that ink on paper transferred into my body, and from that day I knew that that's what I want to be. I want to be a journalist. I want to be somebody involved in magazines, and I guess God blessed me with that gift, and till now I'm doing exactly what I did when I was 10 years old.
How did you decide on the job you have now?
I never thought I would be teaching. I always thought I would be always doing magazines and working as a journalist. But after I finished my PhD at the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri, I get a job offer from the University of Mississippi to come and teach magazine journalism. So I thought I can combine my hobby of being a magazine person, my education of being a magazine person, and my career of actually becoming a magazine educator. So your grandfather's hobby ended up being his education, then ended up being his profession. So technically that's what I tell people. I never worked a day in my life.
What's your favorite color?
Red and blue, and I'm sure you can guess why.
Probably because you like Superman.
Excellent answer.
How would you like to be remembered?
As someone who, as much as he enjoyed his magazines and his work with magazines, he enjoyed his grandkids and kids much more than anything else.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Good job.